Hi, very good morning to you. It's Gene from the maverickstar Observatory. So folks, we're at almost the end of June, and as you know, it's halfway through the year already. It's gone really quick. And I was sitting here reflecting this morning about some of the good things that have happened this year for the observatory and what we've talked about. And just before I get into that, guys, I just want to say a very little thank you to those people that have been supporting us now for a few years. You guys know who you are. It's all you guys on Patreon. It's Brian, it's Sue from San Francisco, it's Bob, Jen and Kathy from the United States. Lots of you. And what have we, the thing is, what have we managed to achieve in the support we've raised and what we've actually found out? If you remember back a couple of months ago, I was talking about the fact that if you're going to start asking questions and wanting to know the answers, some of these questions can be answered very easily. Some of them require a bit of money to be spent on some equipment so you can find out that answer. But in general terms, asking some of these questions is very expensive, and answering them is likewise very expensive. I'll just give you, for instance, look how much it costs to put a satellite up into space. Our observatory could never afford to do that. But what we have managed to do is, with the little budget we've got, is put magnetometers in, and around the world, as you know. We've always been resourceful at the observatory, and we've managed to, if we haven't had, the sporty version of what we wanted, we've managed to at least get from A to B in answering that question. But having said that, we have came out and beaten NASA and these big organisations with the big funding in releasing information before they have. If you remember, at the beginning of the year, they had to re-release the magnetic intensity map and put the new magnetic poles on there for everybody. In fact, if you remember, we raised an issue that the model that they released was an old-fashioned one, and it was one of our subscribers that took it to them, and then they corrected it. Can you believe that? If it weren't for our observatory, I wonder how long that would have gone unnoticed. So we've made some progression, and we've did really well. Another thing that we've done this year is not just track the position of the magnetic North Pole every 3 seconds. So imagine that. Even when we're asleep, guys, the Trimag system every 3 seconds is collecting a bit of data, storing it onto the SD card so that we can process it at the end of the month, or on and around about the 17th, like we do. But what we've also done uniquely and beaten, the space agencies to the table with the information, is tell people within the last couple of months where the magnetic North Pole is going to be in the future. And the only way we've done that is by studying, the magnetic intensity over the northern and southern hemispheres. And it is quite obvious that why the poles started to migrate in the first place was because over Canada, that magnetic intensity began to weaken, and then over in Russia, the intensity began to increase. And as a result of that, it has stole the dipole, off of Canada. And we can see by looking at charts like this where that dipole is heading, and it's clear it's heading for central Russia in the not too distant future. One of the things that we are hoping to see in the next year or two here at the observatory is whether our long-standing theory of the 40-degree mark holds. And it was based on science, guys. We've done experiments with compasses and magnets, and we found where the weak point was, and we know that the magnetic pole over the northern hemisphere has almost covered that 40 degrees already. But one thing we know is that when it gets to around that 40-degree mark, it leaves the strong field lines, which hold the magnetic poles in the position permanently, and it goes into the weak field lines. And it's in the weak field lines that the magnetic pole is in transit faster. So when it goes past that 40-degree mark, it is going to start migrating a lot quicker. And we're coming up to that point. So, for those few reasons, we've had a massive result for the small funding we've had at the observatory, and the work that we've done. It has achieved some really remarkable results, and we've managed to do that with the persistence of a few people that have stood by us side by side, like I've been mentioning in the videos. They have helped fund some money. Some of them, in some cases, have raised some money for us as well as donated money, and continue to do that. So yeah, we've not just accurately tracked the position of the migrating magnetic North Pole, we've actually may have managed to predict where it's going to go and why it's going there. So we're doing really good, guys, and we're beating the big guys with all the big funding to the table with the information first. We've also took it recently this year a step further. If you remember, at the beginning of the year, we said we was going to start building muon detectors and getting them out in the field. Now we've started to do that, and the reason why we want to get those muon detectors out into the field is because by detection of those subatomic particles like muons, we can work out how much activity is going on in our upper atmosphere, with the result of the increasing cosmic radiation inbound as a result of a weakened magnetosphere because of the pole shift and the grand solar minimum. So we are now moving into another area of science and into the area of detection of these subatomic particles, so that we know how much of an increase is taking place in our upper atmosphere, and not just at one location, at various locations around the world. And one in particular is the South Atlantic anomaly. We want to know what's going on in that region because it is one of the world's lowest intensities of magnetic protection, and as a result of that, there should be, if our theory is right, more interactions in the upper atmosphere over that continent, or around about where Brazil is, and more in particular where that anomaly is. We've also, and hopefully I'll be in touch tomorrow to see if it's arrived. If not, I'll send out the tracking details for that muon detector that's gone out to Australia. We are on the cusp now of getting some real data back over the next few weeks from how much Australia is being protected by one of those largest regions of magnetic intensities. Let me get the magnetic intensity map up so we get a visual on what we're talking about with these intensities, because I know you can see these intensities on this map, but the other map is, I think, a little bit more simplistic and easy to grasp what's going on. So as you can see for yourself, where M5 and M6 is where we've got magnetometers in Australia down there on the southern hemisphere, and you can see that large plume of intensity, probably in around 60,000 nanoteslas in strength, and that is coming up on the continent of Australia. And we've got a magnetometer right in the path. Actually, where M5 is, it's a little bit lower than that, so we're getting into that really high intense region. That's where we've put also now one of our muon detectors, and it should be giving Australia on the southern end of that continent more protection as a result of being in a high field intensity. You can see obviously where M8 is, the region of our world where the intensity is at its lowest, probably around 25,000 nanoteslas, and that is where also this anomaly, the South Atlantic anomaly, is on our planet. So you can see why we want to get a muon detector there. In those two regions we can work out the high and the low, and it gives us an idea of when the Earth goes through a magnetic reversal, how much protection we will lose as a result of that. There is a few other things to add into this, like the grand solar minimum, because we're also suffering with a heliosphere shrinking as a result of the last decaying 33 years of those last 3 solar cycles. So there's a lot going on our planet, and there's a lot to do with the geomagnetics of our planet, and that's why we are doing what we're doing at this observatory, and to answer those questions for you guys. But like I say, it does cost money. We do our best with the money that we raise at the observatory. we give you the biggest bang for your buck. And you know what I just want to say, guys, we're in the middle of the year, the end of June, and we have got muon detectors out in the field. We've got magnetometers out in the field globally. We've got a trimag system and a magnetosphere sensor, and we've predicted where the magnetic poles are going to end up on our planet. And not only that, we track the magnetic pole movement and migration and progression as well. So we've really, pushed it out there. But I want to keep the speed up of, what we're doing here at the observatory. And I want to also keep up, the information flowing to you guys. And the only thing I can say, or just briefly mention in every video, is the links down there in the description. It really is the lifeblood of the observatory, and we don't raise a great deal. This year it's been a little bit more of a struggle because of the COVID-19 outbreak has slowed everything down, and it's froze up people's assets. Not many people have been able to chuck in a few bucks here for the observatory simply because of their own financial circumstances. But nevertheless, we have had some really solid hardcore supporters that have said, we're just not going to leave you alone, Gene. We know how much work you've put in, and we know also how important this is for our future on this planet, and we like what you do, and that's why we chip in a few bucks here and there for you. If we can just keep that going, if we can just increase a little bit more of our patrons, we can do a little bit more here at the observatory. It's as simple as that. We don't have millions, but nevertheless, we have beat NASA and the European Space Agency to the table with data, especially at the beginning of this year when we was looking at that magnetic spriting activity where we were seeing spikes taking place. Very exciting to announce that at least a month, if not 2 months before NASA did. So, I was really proud of that moment. But I've been proud of what we've achieved, across the range here anyhow at the observatory. I just hope that, we keep it going, because it is one of the most single important events, I believe, of mankind on this planet at this time, because of its rarity. Okay, guys, links down there. You can support us on Patreon or PayPal. It's entirely up to you. And of course, I'll say this, it is not mandatory, but in order to help people that can't support, we need people that can. It's as simple as that. We all have to come together to help each other and not penalise others because they can't simply afford it. Okay, guys, I just want to say one other thing. You have an amazing day. Give it some thought about what we've achieved. It's nothing small. It is a milestone. It really is. And the only other thing to say other than that is that you have an amazing day. I say what I usually do. As always, bye for now.